Welcome back, friends. I am extremely honored to introduce you to today's guest, Regan Rouse. Regan is a Denver-based photographer, visual storyteller, mom of two, and a woman who, from my perspective, is constantly bursting with creativity. We actually met just a few years ago at an event where I was selling my books, and she was just casually floating around taking pictures while people shopped and chatted. Then she came to my table, and it felt like friends at first sight. And then the photos came back, and this social event that she documented was turned into full-blown art. So naturally, I asked her to photograph the third Moms on the Mic, and speaker headshots for the inaugural magazine, and then B-roll for the magazine, and then the very first Not Till Now. And then, after photographing that debut event, something shifted for her. For the first time, she told me she was ready to do the thing that she's always been terrified of, and that is speaking on stage herself. So, Regan will be speaking in the second Not Till Now, and today we get to unpack that. Also, Regan is the creator of Afterbirth, a documentary project exploring identity, healing, and perinatal mental health. And for the first time, lots of firsts in this, she's creating an event around Afterbirth, which I'm so excited to talk about as well. So Regan, we've got a lot to cover, and I'm so excited you're here.
Thank you. Thank you. That's a lot. It's a lot of compliments, which is hard, right? Because you're like, oh, that feels so good. And also it's so much, but it's true. The minute that we met, I just felt like, oh yeah, everything you wanted to create aligned with what I already was bursting to create, as you already said. So it felt very kismet, and I'm very grateful. Lots of work over the last year and a half, 2 years.
I know. Yeah, we were just talking about that, how it hasn't been that long.
No. And I think it's funny that you're like lots of firsts. It fits for Not Till Now. And I think the year I'm in is that, like, in a perfect world, right? What would I do if I wasn't being held back by anything? And we all want to approach life that way. It's a lot harder to do in execution, but you've given me a lot of opportunity to embrace that. So.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, I just adore you. And even your Instagram posts, I mean, those always stop me in my scrolling because you put so much intention into everything. There was a recent post where you started it with, "It started, like most things do for me, as a bit of a rebellion. When I first called myself a photographer, I was learning on film, an old Pentax, in a quiet darkroom in 1998. I was 17. I'm dying to know what led you to pick up a camera in the first place, and how did it turn into a career?"
Oh man, just seamlessly. Like, if I had to pick one word, it wasn't really a choice that I made, if I'm honest. In high school, I was really lucky to go to a school where we had a dedicated darkroom. Not a lot of people were spending their time in there. And so I was already taking pictures, but it was also like this escape for me, just to get away and have time to be creative for myself, which I think drives the Instagram posts as well. And I appreciate you saying that it stops you in the scroll, because like that's definitely the point, is to give something to like slow down and feel joy over and feel excited about, instead of, especially right now, some of the doom scrolling that people have dubbed it, but doing it for myself. And then it resonates a lot deeper with people when it's coming from a place of, I would be doing this anyway, right? That's the rebellion that I refer to as like, what do I want to be doing? And whoever is aligning with that are my people, right? So they're going to come, they're going to, like you and I, like you were like, ooh, this is something I need. And then we gave each other what the other needed without even meaning to. Isn't that like what we're all searching for?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, okay. So I can just see you escaping to the darkroom. I wish I had that in high school. I wish I had that now.
Yeah. There's like that that tactile quality, right? When you shoot film, and that's having a resurgence right now. A lot of photographers are going back to film because it's stylistically beautiful, it's tactile, it's interesting. And that is why I think one of the things that you and I had talked about was like, well, why did you start shooting film again in the last year? It's not even that long. Because it's such a surprise. Like, no matter how much you know how to control the mechanism, you don't really know what you're going to get. There's that element of creativity that is not in your control. Digital, when you become a photographer, right, it's your trade, I have to control more than I think I wanted to going into this career, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's also become a deeper, poignant thing as a mom and as an adult. And I have to be a different version of myself than I thought when I went into this job. So, yeah.
Yeah. So you're returning to the film. So then you have to be in a dark room, right? Do you have a makeshift one at your house?
No, not yet. I actually
Oh.
outsource to Inglewood Camera. Anyone who's like Denver local knows. It's actually across the street from where I went to high school, which is so funny.
Oh,
So I've been going to this one camera shop since, 96, 7, which is wild.
that's so cool.
Yeah, very full circle.
So how did this journey bring you to your career?
I loved photography because I could show people what I see. So then when I started doing portraiture and went to school to be a teacher originally, lived with a group of women in a house, 5 of us, it was really special. And I did some portraiture of each of the women for a project in school. And again, weird, I didn't think about this. I found another dark room when I was in college that I could access privately, similar to high school. So I had that. And when I showed these women the portraits, they all kind of said like, whoa, I've never really seen myself like that. And so at that moment, that's probably where it went from being like, oh, I'm a hobbyist. But I was still calling myself a photographer, because that felt like an identity thing. And that was pretty intoxicating, is having all those women feel empowered by this photo that I was able to take of them. And so at that point, I like kind of pivoted and was like, okay, maybe this is something that I could do full time. Which is when I graduated, I shifted gears and went to New York and shot for a little while there. It was,
Oh,
yeah.
tell us about New York.
Well, again, super young. And this is fun to talk about because I've been, and I give you all the credit, I've been writing more in an effort to start a Substack, which I finally did publish the other day. I was like, I'm going to do it before we do the podcast so I can give Brit that credit, because you've really pushed me as a writer.
What?
Not to, I've been writing, right? You do it because you're compelled to do it, but I don't share it like I used to. And you have been like the number one driver in pushing me forward to do that. So thanks, because that's huge. Um,
Wow.
yeah. And so going back to New York, I wanted to shoot. Digital was becoming the thing. Everyone shot digitally. And of course, I was very, considered myself a purist. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. But you had to, right? If you're going to be relevant in that industry. So that shifted me into digital reluctantly, like who can. And then, it really turned into a job, like something that I could show up, do the job well, get paid a decent wage, especially living in New York. That was 2006. So different time to be in New York and on my own in my like mid 20s, it was perfect. But yeah, it turned the thing that I loved into a thing that made me money. And that was really special and important. So,
Oh, okay. So I was in New York for an internship with Bus Magazine, summer into fall of 2006.
yeah,
So
we've like joked because we've kind of crossed paths unknowingly. And I love that because it happens all the time. Very
but
fun.
so I didn't realize that it was the exact same year that we were both there. So, but how
Yeah.
long were you there?
I was there till 2009. And then I
Wow.
came back to Denver. and went back to school because, again, digital. I taught myself, but at a certain point, like being in New York, I was like flying by the seat of my pants, kind of I remember, shout out to Harrison was this lovely man that hired me in New York. And I was like, oh yeah, I totally know how to do all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I did not. And he knew, of course, he's like, yeah, you don't, but he stuck with me. And I worked with him for 3 seasons. And it was people like that, right? That gave me that opportunity to fumble my way through it and figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Very important.
Okay, so your work just feels so emotional to me. And even your candid photos, again, going back to that shopping event, they just feel so intimate and intentional and beautiful. And so when you're in the flow and behind the lens, do you have a certain thing that you're looking for when you're photographing people? Or is it a feeling, or bring us into the magic, if it's even something that you can explain.
Magic or manic,
Right?
But in all seriousness, yes, I am looking for something, but I don't think we know what, right? You know what it feels like. I'm a big feeling person, and a sappy romantic person. So it's easier for me to hone in on a micro expression or something that I'm seeing that maybe just because I'm paying closer attention, I see a moment, right? And so that's the goal. Also, just being receptive to other people's openness. That's something I remember about you at that event, is you were already very engaging and very open. And so it was safe. Socially in a public situation, you're meeting a lot of people you don't know. You're looking for the safe people. And that can be shown on, in a facial expression or just an energy exchange, which I think is the whittled down answer to that question, is the energy exchange is what I'm looking for between people.
Okay. Yeah, that's fascinating. Huh. Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned that I was safe for you because you were safe for me, because when you're on the other side of the table at one of those things, it's almost like you're posing nude for a art class because you're like, okay, luckily there were so many people there and it was so successful and everyone was so kind, but there are other events or even, book signings where you're just sitting there and people will just walk right past you, and it's just vulnerable. It's a little intimidating, but
totally.
Okay, so then I am just dying to know. So we've got to talk about Not Till Now. And while you were photographing that event, it hit you really emotionally as well.
Yeah.
And you told me afterwards that you cried multiple times through multiple speakers.
I mean, hey, I do not want to diminish the power, because it was very, very real. I am also very much a crier.
Okay.
But you're right. When I'm happy, when I'm mad, when I'm sad, it kind of all just leaks out there. But that event in particular was so special because of the energy exchange. And I already knew going in, right? Not Till Now is a concept that I think is just so beautiful in general for us to be thinking about. What are we holding back on and why? And should we be putting energy into that holding back, right? So I knew going in, every speaker was going to be impactful. I know that some really incredible people. So I was excited for that. What I did not anticipate was the audience's interaction, and vocally, body language. There was so much being returned to everyone on stage that I was not expecting that. And I hope everyone speaking felt that too, right? And I think they did. But it was important for me as the photographer to document that exchange. The end of the reel that I made for the Not Till Now show, where it's you speaking at the end and you're they're all standing there it still makes me get all tight in my chest, because it was so authentically joyful, and the audience returned so much of that back to you guys. And I hope that everybody on stage felt like that tidal wave, right, of gratitude from the audience. That was big.
My gosh, yeah. Yes. It's funny though, because like I've talked about with the other performers, and you may have seen this from when you were on the side, the
Yeah.
spotlight was so bright that you couldn't see anyone beyond the first row, but you could
Mhm.
hear things. And so it was so bizarre
Totally.
to to just hear random things and um
But still feel like you were kind of all alone on that stage in a
mhm,
weird, because I did just, you told me afterwards, and that might have also helped me make the decision to try to get up there. And I will. I say try. I'm like, no, I will. I think that's the thing though, is this talking out to the void is kind of an amazing, powerful thing that I'm just now experiencing and learning what a gift it can be. So that's cool.
yes, like it's almost easier to not see people's faces. It's
Yeah.
almost like an anonymous thing. That's why it is so much easier for me to post and share certain things on social media than it is to tell people personal things face to face. So it does keep things a little safer in a mysterious way. Um, so going back to the speakers though, I remember you telling me a few who really stood out to you, and I want to hear and have you share.
Everyone that spoke was amazing. When I got emotional, it was usually because the speaker had not only shared a personal story and really like let themselves, again, that kind of openness, but it was so unapologetic too, that, which, not that there's a need for an apology. It was just this really beautiful thing to see people embrace typically a harder concept, like something that was difficult, and really hold on to it and take ownership. And it was beautiful. So the thump conversation that we've had, um,
Mhm.
I really enjoyed that. And you'll do a better job recalling exactly what he said. But I can tell you what it felt like, because I don't remember his exact words. I wish I did. Do you have them written, or that little bit where he wrote about the thump
I
feeling?
don't have anything like in front of me, but yeah, the whole thump concept for so David Comstock got up and talked about how he went into a coffee shop one day and saw the barista working and thought for sure that this was the owner because this person was so passionate about this cortado that they were making. And then
Good.
the coffee shop is called Thump Coffee. And then they got to talking about the origins of the name and how basically thump is the sound of so the family that owns it, they come from a history of lumberjacks. And so thump is the sound of the axe or whatever hitting the wood. And then for David, the it was a symbol of the primitive work that we do and the
So good.
hard work. And so for the clay to hit the stone and for the thump, like the
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 weight of it.
yes, and the natural organic hard work that we have to do and where it begins. And it's so cool how one story can meet people in so many different places. And so then your story about Thump was so cool. So I want to hear yours again.
It's kind of funny and a little cheesy, if I'm honest, but that's how I roll. So, so I want to first say, like, what you just said, one person's story is so important. That's what makes writing so cathartic for us. And I know you feel this way, right? Like, I would write whether I was sharing it or not. That's true to me in the last decade, because I stopped sharing so much of what I was writing. That was something I used to do that I really took pride in. But then in the last couple of years, I've had to do to steal, David's phrases and words, of some primitive work on
Yeah.
myself. Um, since becoming a mom, which is, I'll segue in a minute into that. But for me, Thump, when I heard him talking about that, it's just like the weight of that work and the repetitiveness of how often you have to do it and remind yourself why you're doing it, and kind of redefine what that looks like, however, in your seasons. That really hit me. And then I giggled to myself because my mom loved this movie called Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead. Andy Garcia. Love. Again, I'm like showing my age in a lot of these references, but that movie is so fantastic. If no one's watched it, it does take place in Denver. They did the filming in Denver, and they even are at the Bluebird Theater in a portion of the movie. Like, it's lovely. Anyway, great movie. But there's a little monologue that Andy Garcia gives to the female counterpart lead in the movie about how the person that you love or that loves you should make you thump. Like that,
Oh,
they should make you feel so some sort of a way, right? That you thump. And I always loved that. And I think I told you I have like a list in my notes app of like tattoos I want to get because they're meaningful to me. And tattoos are so personal for me. I do have them, and I don't hide them, but they're just for me. So I don't feel the need necessarily to always share. But I will continue to get tattoos off of this notes app. Thump has been in there forever. So it was like at the bottom of the list. And then I heard David talking about it, and I was like, oh man, how cool is that? So the things that make you thump, like, what are we here for? What are we trying to add to the world? That was also the emotion behind Not Till Now, is like all of the things that those speakers were trying to add to the world was for everyone else, but it was also very much for themselves. And that's a concept I'm really interested in through photography, as a mom, as a friend, right? Like, what can I do to pour into myself that will also then help the people around me flourish, you know? So yeah, the Not Till Now was special for so many reasons. And of course I'm like crying and trying to take pictures.
I know. I didn't think
So
about that part, how that
yeah,
must have been kind of difficult.
it was definitely kind of comical. Like, I was like giggling at myself and then like wondering if anyone in the audience, because I had to kind of be up in everybody's business. So that was another part of it, is shooting on stage and being, I don't know, is a interesting way to document the show. So
Oh,
very
I wish I
cool.
could have been a little ladybug on your shoulder when you were in the audience or,
I gotta
around
get,
closer to people.
I gotta have a chip implanted in some way where I can just like, that's
Oh,
been the
it's
superpower.
it's coming. I'm sure. I'm sure
Oh,
it's
I'm
being
sure.
developed.
Probably already there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Astronauts in space.
Yeah. Okay, so this brings me to the question I've been dying to ask you. So what exactly made you decide that it's your turn to come from the other side of the camera? Was there a specific turning point or a moment? Was it right after the show? Was it during the show? When did you decide it's time for me to stand on that stage for once?
I mean, for sure, while I was there shooting the show, there was, I need another word for compelled, right? Like, I need to really dig into some thesaurus situation with compelled, because I felt it during the show, mostly just because I'm always thinking about afterbirth right now. So for the people listening, I'll throw out that I've been a photographer for 20 years now, which is wild. And I didn't have my kids until later in life for various reasons, much by choice, but also by the time we started to think about starting a family, it wasn't as smooth and easy as we all kind of think it's going to be. And I think every one of us has a story like that. And so we had our kids late. I was 35 when I had my first son, and I had, as we've discussed, I shared with you, some pretty bad postpartum depression. And what ended up later, I figured out, was OCD. And that was an interesting thing to learn about, but it was very shocking because I read all the books and I did all the things, and I'm an older established woman. Like, I'm thinking, I've got it in the bag. And so when that happened, it really caught me off guard. And I think that taking time off of work was a terrifying concept for me. When I was pregnant, you're coming up to your leave and you're thinking about baby coming, and of course you're so excited, but the idea of leaving my work, or that idea that I was going to have to, really scared me more than I think I was aware at the time. And so when I went through this mental health struggle, I felt super isolated and alone. And I think so many moms say that at various levels.
Mm-hmm.
So once I had my second son, I was prepared a little bit more for that. Like, okay, if this happens, what am I going to do about it? And then now my oldest is about to turn 10. Um, and
Oh.
this month, we're like 9 days away. Um,
Oh.
Looking back at that phase of life, kind of like Not Till Now, it's like, well, what do I wish existed that wasn't there for me? And what can I do to make that come to life so that other women and other families have the resources that I didn't feel like I had or I didn't know how to access? And so I started Afterbirth as a documentary project originally, and then realized this is really cool, but this isn't exactly dialed in. So I turned it into a nonprofit a little less than a year ago. So very new. So when I thought about getting up on stage, what would I talk about? It would be that. My work and my motherhood is so tied together, like braided. I don't even think they separate, if I'm honest. And so I just want to talk about mental health with other women, other families, so that we all just feel connected together in it and not so all alone, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, man. And I know that you and I have talked a lot about our own experiences. Motherhood, um, the journey to motherhood, the beginning of motherhood, the thick of motherhood, it can all be so isolating. And I know that I personally experienced a lot of stretches where I felt so alone. But then as soon as you do talk about it, it's amazing how many women have been in the places that you have. So it's so important. And I'm so excited for you to talk about what needs to be talked about and to help um, everyone in every walk of life to see where women are at in so many different stages and phases. And
Yeah.
I was just watching Margot Has Money Problems on Apple yesterday, and
I've not this.
she
Should I?
just has a baby. She just gives birth, and she's just like, oh my gosh, everyone thinks that it's just this joyous, beautiful thing. And she's trying to breastfeed, it's not working. The baby's
Yeah.
screaming because it has colic, and it's, the things that happen behind closed doors and not at the joyous baby shower and not at the joyous little lunch where you bring your baby in the stroller while they're sleeping. Like, those are the things that no one really talks about.
Yeah.
And so, long story long, it's going to be so important for you to talk about, like, how Liz got up and talked about a lot of things to do with her
Yes.
body and her seasons and her changes, and that really helped. I've heard from numerous people that they're like, wow, like, I had no idea that women go through
Yeah.
all that. So
It's
it's
so
so
like,
important.
oh my gosh, me too, right? Like we've all had a friend, you and I have done it where they share a thing and you're like, whew, yes, I
Yeah.
know what you mean. And it's this more than the words, more than anything else. It's just this shared seeing of each other. Like you said, seeing where women are at. And what's so big about Afterbirth and what I hope I can accomplish with it is, yes, the conversation needs to get started. And that's how this all began for me. But now what I've realized is I love being able to tell other mothers that are in the thick of it, that are going through it, like, hey, so you're not going to look back on this and hate it. Like you don't need to carry shame into that next chapter. This is all very normal and like developmentally appropriate for us as mothers. Cause we so often are like, oh, my kid is 8. All right. Well, I'm 8 years a mom, right? Or I'm almost 10 years a mom. And the woman that I am now, if I could go back and like wrap my arms around that 10-year young version of she really needed it. She really needed somebody to see her. And actually, I have a really lovely story. We did a number of interviews for Afterbirth. So if people go to afterbirth.org, they can watch interviews that we did with a dad talking about his wife's postpartum experience, and very dear friend of mine who had psychosis after her daughter was born. Big topics, right, that were really interesting to dig into with people who I know and love. But one of the interviews is with a woman named Jessica Sparzak, and she was probably the one that, if I had to like give credit to one human that kind of broke the shell open for me, it would be Jess. I had just had my second son. I mean, I think he was like 6 weeks old. And I went to an opening of a beautiful space here in Denver. That was a studio space. So I was really excited to go see it. And it felt like something I could do for myself, but I went alone. And like we talked about, those social situations, you walk in and you're like, oh, I hope this goes okay, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Jess was the florist for the event and had done this beautiful hanging floral sculpture that I was like, wanted in my house. And I went up to tell her how much I loved her work, and we get to talking. And I'm like, yeah, I just had my second son. She's asking how old. I tell her. And in the middle of this room, I kid you not, it was like all the lights went out and it got quiet. And I told her his age, and she went, oh my gosh, you're in it. And just the way she said it, it's still like I just burst into tears in the middle of this beautiful event. Because this
Oh,
woman, I just felt so seen. And like she really, because she is a mom as well. And so she ended up being a very dear friend. We're still very close. She has since moved to Tennessee, which is really a bummer. But we did a ton of work together, and similar to you and I. And I just feel like you can't convince me that that's not on purpose, that our
yeah.
people find us and are sent to us if we're just receptive, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool. So she started Afterbirth with me to a degree, just because she was my very first interview of the, I believe, 7 that we've done so far. Worked with an awesome videographer, Rhett. He is wonderful. So if you guys go to the website, please like go look at his work too, because he's amazing.
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, I've
Yeah,
watched a number of the videos on there, and it's
yeah.
incredible. And the resources that are on there, holy
Oh,
moly. I
and
mean,
yes.
it's a
Yeah,
whole
that's
thing.
So if you're looking for resources, I should like do better at saying these things out loud for people so they can actually find them. That is actually what Afterbirth has now shifted into, is a platform for people to go and find resources. So if you need a pelvic floor specialist, or you need a nutritionist, or somebody to help with sleep, there's some resources there that are mostly Denver local. So the goal will eventually be to expand as we grow, hopefully. But some of them are international. Postpartum International obviously is like the big known national. And there's a Denver chapter here that is just amazing. So yeah.
Yeah. I did not realize how many resources there were until I devoured that page one day. I was like,
Yeah.
holy cow. So,
And they weren't there. I mean, these things are things that have grown in the last 10 years in Denver, but I think nationally it's becoming a much bigger topic and something people are a little more comfortable sharing. Thank goodness,
mhm.
because we talked about, you got to let the air out of the balloon. You need your people to feel like you're not going through something totally alone.
Oh my gosh, yes. When did you start the Afterbirth project itself?
The documentary project started, if it's 26, it started 3 years ago.
Okay.
And it started as the documentary film, and as much as I loved that, it was very cool, and it really just was me kind of digging into talking to doctors, talking to nurses and doulas and amazing professionals that could give me insight into what we just don't understand, which is a good amount. I think a lot of it, from what I'm learning, is nutritional, like very, very important what we're doing for ourselves after baby comes. And I think that that's the shift that we're going toward, caring for mom more
Yes.
postpartum. But I realized I don't want to be on camera as often as I was finding myself on camera when we were doing it that way. And as much as I loved the experience, I was like, man, I would rather be the one, behind the camera, asking the questions and getting people to share their own stories. So now moving forward, that's the push.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Can I ask why you didn't want to be on camera?
Oh my gosh, because it's just excruciating.
Yeah, I know.
I
I
mean,
mean,
it's so important to push ourselves, like even doing this and like the Not Till Now, you ask like, when did you feel ready? Oh, I still don't feel ready. Like I'm not ready. I don't know that ready is even a real thing. But I do know that because I love this topic and this conversation and I feel the value, it just feels like I could get over my damn self. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but like, like I
yes,
get over my damn self and do the thing because it's always been worth it, you know?
yes, yes. And yes, you can cuss here. And,
Good, good.
and yes, no, you're right. We're never really truly ready, but you are willing. And the desire to share what is on your heart is so much bigger than the fear, So, and the
Yeah.
fear will creep up through the process, and I'll help you with that. But right now, we got to hold on to there's
Yeah.
something, and there's a big reason why this is all happening now, and we need to just embrace that. And I'm so excited for you.
Yeah.
And I mean, the way that you send voice texts and the way that you communicate anything, it's always so beautiful. So I'm so excited for this moment to come.
I have to tell you, everything that you write and share likewise is inspiring to me. And it, again, I have to say, as artists, there's these moments, and we want to, we'll call it imposter syndrome because it's nice to give it a name. But there's just these moments as artists where, I don't know about you, you feel like, is this valuable to anyone but me? And then it's like, is this really like a ego grab or something? What's my why? And meeting you and seeing what you're sharing and, being vulnerable with other writers has really reminded me of the value is always there. Like whatever that may look like, even if it is somebody else isn't looking and feeling, which they almost always are, right? Especially in this day and age. But did it give me something back to even just do it and put it out there and say it and feel it? It always does. Do you cry when you publish ever? Like when you write something and you finally put it out there, like do you get emotional? Does that?
You know, it's funny. I don't cry. I just sweat. I mean, my palms sweat and everything just sweats. And then I publish it. I'm like, oh, okay. And sometimes there's like a little puddle on my laptop where my palms were. I mean, it's just crazy. But no, it is it is always a release, and it's always this weird thing where you think that writing is going to be this waste of time in a way, right? Like, oh, I'm just going to push that off because it's not as important, and it feels very self-serving and reflective, and okay, well, there's a million other things that need to be done now. But then when you actually sit down and you see the things fall out of your brain and come out of your heart, there are things that you have to physically see. Your thoughts have to be seen. It's almost like it's like translated for you. And then you see what comes out and you're like, I didn't even know that was there.
Totally.
But that is something that I needed to just let come out of me. And then when you do share it and then someone else says, oh my gosh, me too. Oh my gosh, I needed to see that. Or even when someone doesn't say anything. I mean, I just posted something in the writing group recently and no one has said anything about it. And I'm really proud of it. And I'm really excited about it. And I'm like, why is no one saying anything? Does it suck? Does that mean it sucks? But then I'm like, no, you got to trust it. How many times have you been moved by something, but you don't go and contact the person that inspired you, But so,
Well, I mean, 90% of the time, I think people are impacted and don't ever say it out loud, even though they think that they do or they intend to. Yeah, I think that's real. And there's also a lot of content coming at us all the time.
yes.
And that is a beautiful and double-edged sword. So,
Yes.
yeah.
But what's interesting too, though, is sometimes people just don't even know what to say. They feel it,
Yeah.
but they don't have the words.
Yeah.
And then I'm totally
I
going,
encourage us to say that more, by the way, is that very thing of like, I don't know what to say, but I want to, but like, I'm not really sure how to. I wish people would be a little bit more forthcoming with their not knowing. Just because I
yes,
think that's still valuable and helpful for others. It's still feedback,
yes.
and supportive. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I challenge all of us to do that more.
I think so. And in anything in life, right? To just
Yeah.
to hear, I don't know what to say, but I love you and I love your family and I'm
And I'm
here,
glad I know
you know?
this. Thanks for
Yeah.
trusting me. Right. Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
big. And that's that. I think vulnerability gets easier to access as a parent. And that's not to say it's not accessible if you're not. I just think there's an element of being a parent that there's so much that I'm like, I don't know. I don't know the right answer. And I can't necessarily always say that to my kid. But it's very humbling to face that and be, I guess, comfortable with not knowing and trusting that we'll figure it out. Everything is figure outable is a thing we say
Yes.
in our house. So
Yes. I know I'm getting to the point where I'm like, Gio, I do not know the answer to that, but you and I are going to Google that tomorrow morning because I know you're trying to just
figure that
stay
out.
awake right now and you're just thinking of every question, possible, but we'll figure that out tomorrow. I do not know.
Totally. Well, I'm very excited for this platform and a chance to talk about the things that I love with someone that I love and has always been supportive. Again, like pulling it out in the nicest way. I really am grateful for you. And
Oh.
yeah, this has been really cool.
Oh, I am so grateful for you. And I was just thinking about all the things that led to us even meeting. I almost didn't even do that event. At first I said no. And then I went back. I'm like, I should probably do this. And then they squeezed me in at the last minute at that little round table. And this morning I'm like, had I not revisited
Right?
this, I probably would have never met you. Who
Well, and
knows?
isn't
So
that beautiful life? Like, isn't that the beautiful thing of life that I also could have not, gone? Shout out to Minnie. That was, and Carrie, that was an awesome event. But I agree. This is the tricky part, right? The honoring our inner voice of, oh, I'm too shut down. I can't go be social. But oh man, I'm so glad that I pushed through and went and did that. And look at what it led me to.
yes, yes. Getting out of the house on a weeknight in November, downtown Denver, like that took
Like
a lot.
smoggy that night, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yes. So it is clearly so important to take risks and put ourselves out there. So,
Yeah.
I which is why I'm so thrilled that you are putting together an event around afterbirth, your first of its kind. And
Yes.
I haven't been able to catch up with you on where it's at. So give
Yeah.
us the latest.
So this, I gotta say, like, I'm so emotional, but in the best way about this, because this year's been like, okay, in a perfect world, that's my favorite thing to ask myself. Don't answer the way you think someone wants you to answer. Don't say what will make you look, an adult version of yourself. Just do the thing. And so I went and shot an event for another nonprofit here in Denver just to kind of get to know how it all works and learn the industry. And one of the things that the woman said, that was the head of this amazing organization, was some nonprofits can pull from existing nonprofits, taking away resources that obviously isn't their intention, but that's kind of an unintended consequence. And I'd never thought about that before till I heard her say that. And it made me really pull back and think like, okay, what do I want afterbirth to look like? What value can I add without taking away? So next year, and I say next year, we have not set a date because I have the venue and it's currently under construction. And I'm
Oh,
like, waiting. And if it doesn't end up finishing by the time we just really want to kick this off, likely in the spring of next year, then I have the same owner has a second location. But either way, all that to say, I'm kind of feeling it out. But this will be a community event for families to come and not only find the resources that exist for them, but make art, meet other families in the community, share of themselves, open up. Like I have worked now with so many incredible people in Denver, the Denver Village, the Den Denver, which are both very different, but like social clubs for parents and kids and co-working spaces and practitioners there that help you. And I shoot for them pretty regularly. So getting those people, representatives to come and share what they are doing and why they're there. Every single one of these women that I'm working with have a story similar to my own of, hey, I had my kid, I maybe had some mental health, maybe had some physical traumatic labor, whatever it may have been, but I needed more than was there for me. And then they turned around and made that thing, and it's just remarkable. Women are so incredible. So having these women come, also artists, it's a gallery show. So it's a community event where people will be, but there will be art shown as a gallery event in the space as well, because there's a lot of artwork. Like you said earlier, and I'm glad we're circling back. We love the baby showers and we love the cute photos on the valley hillside in the dress, and it's lovely. But I want to see the picture of 2 a.m. mom's breastfeeding or bottle feeding, and no one else is awake, and you're like ruminating because you're so tired, and like, you're in this weird place that's hard to describe. And it's so beautiful if it's shown properly, because I think that's pickle is there's been such a focus on those elements as negative, as like, that's the shitstorm, pardon me, of motherhood, right? But it's not. It's the sinew, and like none of the rest of it can exist without those intimately vulnerable, gross, smelly, loud, or quiet moments, right? And so I want to show those things as well, because that all is a part of it. And we'll see how the community responds. I know that the people who have already taken part in these kinds of sessions with me, showing the more like true to life documentary style motherhood, they love the images, but more than anything, they love making them, the act of making them. They were like, this was core memory, and that's pretty cool.
Okay, so it will be your photography on display.
Yes. And I'm working on getting 2 other guest artists, also mothers, that are other like painting, or I do have another photographer that's definitely gonna do some video installation work. So it's gonna be pretty broad, and it's not something I've ever seen done. And that's what gets me excited, is I want to take something conceptually that people are like, oh yeah, I've been to a conference or I've been to an art show. I want them to walk in and be like, I have never seen anything like this. So.
Oh yeah. I've never heard of it or seen of it. And man, ooh.
Yeah, it'll be very cool. When I think about it, I may not have shared with you, when you think of motherhood, like, and I keep saying motherhood, parenthood, obviously partners, spouses are very much included. I'm just a woman's woman, right? So I'm always going to be leaning in to that. But your senses are really tied up in your parenting, right? So the smells, the sights, the sounds, the tastes. I never realized like how loud things would get as a parent. And so when we go, create this gallery space, I want it to be split into quarters and have each one of the quarters represent an element of motherhood, and then a sense, or all of those senses in some way. So working on the artists that are going to be there, I will have a musician in one of the areas, like, and again, those under discussed elements of parenthood. So postpartum is one of them, mental health. But then there's a number of other topics that I think should be dug into. One of them, I'm really passionate about, my friend Katie Lynn, who is a part of my afterbirth board. She really focuses on marital health in that first year all of it, but specifically that first year of having a new entity in the family. And I think that's pretty important and under discussed. So
that's so huge.
yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, this is really, really exciting. And I think it's so poetic in a way that the current venue is under construction, because I feel like
Right.
it's kind of a metaphor for how these things go. And if you're going to do it intentionally, it's going to take time. But it's so cool to see, how far you've already come just from when you were first telling me about it to now, like how much has developed.
Yeah.
And so that's really exciting. And man, if it does happen in spring, that's
I
also
know. Well, fall
amazing.
was originally, I was like, no, the fall, because I have really strong feelings about the fall. I love that time
Same.
of year in Colorado, especially. But it just sort of has, I've allowed, I think, again, in that whole, in a perfect world, this is what I want to do. Like, and by some grace of whatever, beauty and God in the universe, like I definitely see everything's sort of falling into place. But yes, it does take time. And I know you and I both struggle a little bit with that because I'm so excited that I want the thing to come to
Right.
fruition. Right. But
Mm-hmm.
can't, you can't do that. You got to let it develop. Pun
Yep.
intended. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, pun. Yes. Yes. You got to let it
Always.
develop in the dark room and just let
Yes.
it unfold. And oh man, this has been so beautiful and so wonderful. And
Thank you for having me.
is there is there anything that we haven't talked about that's on your heart, or anything that you want to share?
Yeah, I think when we started this conversation, I was talking about what David had said and how this deep inner kind of work at the core, it really is so worth it to do that work. That's the thing that's sitting with me constantly right now at this phase of my life is it's working. Like I think I've said that to a girlfriend about, being in therapy and actively digging into these things, both artistically and emotionally and physically in so many ways. One of the reasons that so much has developed for me as far as planning the event is I've gone back to running, and that saved me in postpartum. It like literally and genuinely saved me from my own rumination. So I've
Oh,
gone back to running. It's been a decent amount of time. And that sort of well-rounded care for yourself, like, that's just what I think you're giving people in the Not Till Now show. You're giving people with this platform where they can share themselves openly. That's what we all should be focusing on, especially considering the intensity of the world right now and everything going on and the way we're all feeling. Just going out into the world and remembering like we're all doing this deep work, like be patient with each other and
yes.
yeah.
I love how you brought up what saved you in postpartum, because I did want to talk to you about how art and photography also really helped you in that process. Can you take us back to at what moment you picked the camera back up again?
I have always shot my life, my real life, my family, my loved ones, my home, because it's a documentary kind of need. I'm compelled to remember, and I have such a hard time remembering the things that I want to. There's so much. So after I had the boys, I just completely stopped documenting the way that I used to, and I felt like my hands were tied, which was really weird. It felt very alien because I had never experienced that quite like that, to that degree of just feeling outside of myself and not really understanding how to get back in. So it took, gosh, this is hard to say. I shot professionally. I went back to work actually really fast after Cray was born, and I shot professionally the whole time. But I didn't shoot work that felt aligned the way that it does now
Hmm.
I think it took 6 years after Cray was born for me to really start to feel like, okay, this feels like my hand and my mind and my heart, not somebody
Yes.
else's that I'm like just a shell I'm filling, if that makes sense. Uh,
Yes.
so yeah, and then after birth, really just shoved the ball down the hill, and it's just been gaining momentum, and now, starting to shoot film again. I feel more aligned with my work right now than I think I ever have, which is
Oh.
bold thing to say, but it feels really, really good, which is probably also, and I don't think I knew this till right now, why I feel so compelled to do the community, event and to do Not Till Now and to start putting my own face back out there to explain what afterbirth is. Yeah.
Oh gosh, it's just so cool how things come around, even a decade later.
Yeah.
And even, returning to film 17 years later. And
Wild, wild. Yeah, that's been really fun.
it's really encouraging in a weird way to see how long so much has taken for you, but in a
Yes.
really, really meaningful kind of way. Isn't that weird, right?
It is. If I'm honest, my animal Reagan brain is like, yeah, it's been total crap. Like,
yeah, no, I
it
know.
took way too long. I did not like that. But I do remember after having Cray and that plummet of hormones that happens and that kind of, okay, woo, here we go. I asked a lot of people like, so how long until I kind of like feel better? And all of them said about a year. And I remember literally out loud being like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to wait that long. And I think that's kind of funny. It's like the universe was like, okay, now I have to do this.
Yeah.
Now we have to drag it out because you're rebelling against the natural timeline.
Yeah.
And that's also humbling.
Oh, that's the thing. If I were to go back 20 years into the past and look into a crystal ball and see everything that was coming my way, I'd be like, no, no.
I do not subscribe. Like, no, I don't want to do that.
No. And to see how long certain things would have taken. And I'm just now unpacking a lot of things that happened 20 years ago that are just coming back to me. And I'm like, okay, had I known that it would have taken that long to circle back to something, I would have run for the hills. But then when you do get there and you look back and you see, wow, it was all meant to be, then it all makes sense. In the time, in the moment, it sucks to suffer through waiting, but it is such a beautiful thing to see, yes, the natural timeline of how things develop. And your journey is such a beautiful representation of that. And I'm just so thrilled for what's to come and everything that you're working on. You're just
really grateful. Yeah. You've heard the Rilke quote. Am I saying the name? The Rilke, I think is. Anyway, the no feeling is final. Like, go out, live your life, do everything that scares you. I'm totally butchering the quote, but it's lovely. But that ending is right. He says, like, no feeling is final. Like,
yes.
And that feels, I think when I was younger, if I would have heard that, I would have felt despair or discouraged by that. And now I feel so comforted.
Yes. Oh. Well, I cannot wait to work with you and see how this unfolds and to see you on that stage on September 30th. It's going to be so cool. And I've been looking forward to this conversation for so long. And
thank you.
I will put in the show notes a link to your Substack and
yes.
the Afterbirth website and how people can find you on Instagram.
Perfect. Yay. I would love, because we've done all this work, but I want to work with all the people. A lot of the time people are like, what do you shoot? And I'm like, what do you got? Because that's really the fun of it. So I can't wait for Not Till Now. And thank you again for having me.
Oh, we'll have an amazing day.
You too.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of Not Till Now. I hope this conversation stirred something in you. Don't forget to check the show notes for a recap and ways to stay connected. And if you know someone in your life who needs permission, send this to them. See you next time.